Need for Speed just put out a patch for volume 9, and honestly, it was much needed. So let's go through the most important changes. Let's go. All right, here it is, the volume 9.0.2 patch notes. Let's get into it, man. I'm just going to highlight the things that I think are the most important from each of these sections. If you want to read the full patch notes, you can go to the link in the description, head over to the Need for Speed Unbound website and read through all this stuff. A lot of this stuff is like not very relevant to a lot of players, or just stuff that needed to be done, but it's kind of minor. So anyways, let's get into it, man. Let's start off with the contract usability and display improvements. So the most important things in this section are a couple of things. Basically, they fixed the pop-up so it differentiates the progress between you and your teammates. If you didn't know, progress on contracts is shared. So if one person in the team does it and you guys have the same contract, it tracks for all of you guys. Now you'll be able to see the differentiation between what you did and what they did a little bit more clear. And they said they're making it a little bit more like the link ups. In addition to that, they fixed multiple Racer X challenges not tracking correctly. This could be like the most frustrating thing. You're going into the game for a specific contract, you're trying to do this challenge, you do it, and then it doesn't even track it, and you feel like you've just wasted your time. So that should be fixed as well. Let's move on to the map and mini map improvements. There were a lot of things here that sort of definitely affected gameplay, and one of those things is making sure that rival players were on the mini map and on the map when they were in like hot rides. The intention that they had was to always force that PvP action, and to do that, we need to know where other players are when they have something of value. And that's what they changed. They made it so where if you steal a car from the lockup and it's a hot ride, your image is now going to be docked to the mini map of other players, and you'll also be appearing on the main map as well, the main big map. So in my opinion, really good changes there. I like when the PvP action is forced. It's something that I like doing. I don't want to be in that session alone, and I've been in that session alone because of all of the matchmaking. Anyway, we'll get to that in a second. In addition to that, they improved the look of the lockdown zone on the mini map and the main map. It was just kind of like slightly unclear what part of the lockdown was actually the lockdown and then what part was about to be the lockdown. So I think that it's nice to make it a little bit more clear for those zones. All right, they put a bunch of fixes and improvements into the session routing and notifications. For me, this was one of the more frustrating things while playing. The navigation wasn't working for the trucks. Like, you would see the notification that there was an extraction truck coming and you would want to go to that extraction truck. So you would press up on the D-pad and you wouldn't get the route. And so then you're opening the map, seeing where it's going, trying to judge if it's going to go left or right. Is it going to stay on the highway? Let me put a marker way up here and try to navigate to it. I mean, it just really was like super weird to try to get to that truck when you didn't get the navigation and your other teammates did. So then they're starting to extract with the truck and you're missing out on it. I mean, I've missed multiple extractions just simply because, well, I mean, mostly skill issue, to be honest, but also I couldn't find it because the GPS wasn't pointing me in the right direction. So that issue should be fixed. Not only did they fix that, but they also fixed the issue where you couldn't put a GPS marker on a player because that player would be moving. So you would click the GPS marker on the player and then all of a sudden it would just be stuck to that same location. It wasn't tracking that player and updating your GPS. It will do that now. It will also do that for anyone that's on a bike or a hot ride. You can now GPS track them. Just click on them on the map and follow them and find out where they are and take their stuff, man, because that's what this mode is all about. Well, at least in my opinion. I love the PvP in this. And then finally, they had an intention right here to make sure that you got to that critical health state if you were busted or wrecked out. Now you can. It wasn't working. You would just be wrecked. If someone hit you and all your health went down, that's it. But the intention with the game was to have that critical health state where you're just like, you're one shot basically. And that wasn't working. Well, it is now. And that is awesome because it gives you another opportunity to get to a gas station. Now, for those of you like me who enjoy wrecking someone out and taking all of their loot, this is going to be a little bit of an annoyance because you have to hit them one extra time now in order to make them like fully wreck out and get their stuff. Anyways, I do think it's good overall. All right, they made some improvements to the matchmaking, and this was something that was very frustrating to me because I found myself in lobbies with literally no players. Like if I queued into a session solo and I didn't want any teammates, it would just be me in the lobby. It's crazy. Sometimes I would queue in, I would get people in my lobby, and then all of a sudden the lobby would disappear and I would be kicked out and not have any teammates. And then sometimes we would get people in the lobby, all three of us, and then we would get into a session and we were the only team in there, which is just really boring. I mean, I want the PvP. Anyways, they made a few improvements to the matchmaking. Hopefully it's better. We'll have to see once we get into the game. All right, there's actually quite a few of the like other notable improvements and fixes. These first two are definitely ones that were frustrating to me as well. Basically now, if you're the last member of your crew and you go down, you're going to be dropping all of your loot. That's good for the players that are still in the game because they can scoop all of that loot up. In addition to that, they're making sure that that loot doesn't just get like knocked down the road crazy, or like, you know, it actually stays close to the player, and it's going to be there in the overtime session, which to be honest, I didn't even think about, because in the overtime session where you're trying to like get to that last extraction truck, I'm not even thinking about looking for loot. But let's say we're driving down the highway and a player had died on that highway a little earlier, and I'm following the extraction truck and I see a pile of money, I'm gonna go pick it up. So that's kind of nice that the loot items will actually remain in the world in that overtime session now. Now, they also made it to where if you extract the same blacklist vehicle more than once, the second instance of it will just be converted to cash right away. That was the intention. They're trying to not bloat the vehicle inventory. So that stuff is just going to happen automatically now. And I think that's fine. I don't think we need to have that car in the inventory. You don't really need multiple copies of it unless you're trying to build it for like, you know, B, A plus, like every category or multiple categories. I just think once you unlock that car, you should be able to just buy it anyway. So it's fine. It's not a big deal. Just convert it to cash, saves me some time. And speaking of cash, they're actually adding the rewards message to the end flow where you just, you know, you see your XP and you see your reps. You don't have any idea how much cash you earned unless you were like really paying attention to it right as you were extracting. So that's a nice little UI improvement there. Now, this one's actually going to change the gameplay experience slightly. They made the ESF give you immunity towards roadblock spike strips. Now, it says roadblock spike strips. I'm curious if it actually works against player spike strips as well. So we'll have to see when we get in game, but that's actually a nice change. I'm going to be picking up ESFs just simply to have the defense, you know, if I end up having to go through roadblocks. They also increased the rate of extraction truck spawns late into the session. It did kind of feel like there wasn't enough trucks at the end of the game. So like, it'd be like 5 minutes left or 4 minutes left, and you're like, oh, I'll just go on the next truck, and then there really wasn't a next truck. You had to wait until the overtime truck when the timer was out, and then you're fighting over the overtime truck. It was, I don't know, we'll see how this plays out. I kind of really like the PvP part of this, and so I think that this might make it a little bit more casual and not quite as important to get to that extraction truck because there's more of them. But we'll see how this works out. Now, this is a big one. They increased the cap on owned vehicles from 200 to 250. This is to help players who have just a ton of inventory, have a lot of cars. And this actually caused a bug that I experienced, is when you have too many cars and you extract with a hot ride or a vehicle that you should be keeping, and it just doesn't appear in your inventory. And this was happening because you were too close to that 200 cap limit. So this extra 50 should eliminate that. But definitely be careful of your vehicle count. If you can get that down to 120 or so, the game runs a little bit better. Honestly, you get a little faster load times, and also you don't have to worry about missing out on those extracted vehicles. And finally, they're adding a fix to help recover inventory issues and not being able to play the game. I actually got quite a few direct messages asking for help on this. People were wondering why they weren't able to access online after the update for volume 9. The game just broke completely. So they were able to duplicate this in their dev environment and finally put a fix to it. They do say that they're sorry about that, and you know, they know that players are still getting errors, and they're just trying to make sure they find solutions for all that. So they're still working on that. And that's basically it. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a DM on Instagram or Discord like always. I will catch you on the next one. Trigger out.